I remember the night my world cracked open like it was yesterday. The air in the room was thick with the smell of burning incense and the metallic taste of blood from the ritual offering I had just made. My hands trembled, but not from fear, at least not at first. I had done this hundreds of times before. People came to me for power, for revenge, for healing, and I gave it to them, or so they thought. But that night, something shifted. The chants I was muttering began to sound foreign, almost mocking me. The shadows in the corners seemed to move on their own. My chest tightened like a steel vice was clamping down on my ribs, and sweat poured down my face. My legs went weak. For the first time in years, I felt completely powerless. And in that moment, I realized I had built my life on something that was about to devour me whole. I thought God was a myth, a name people used to hide their fears. But that night, I was about to discover that hell was no myth, and it was coming for me. Before I continue, I just want to pause and say a huge thank you to every single one of you who is watching this. To my new viewers, welcome. To my returning viewers, I appreciate you more than you know. If you have not yet subscribed, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel that keeps this channel going and helps me keep sharing these life-changing stories. And please, share your thoughts in the comments. I read them, I respond, and your words mean more than you think. Now, let us get back to my story. My name is Milton James, and I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1971. If you know anything about New Orleans, you know it is a place where faith and darkness often live side by side. On one street, you will find a church ringing its bells, and just around the corner, a small, dimly lit shop selling charms, powders, and talismans. I grew up in a home where my grandmother took me to church on Sundays, but my uncles taught me the old ways during the week, the rituals, the spells, the invocations to spirits that were not from God. By the time I was a teenager, I could feel the thrill of power when people came to me for help, and I could give them what they wanted. Or so it seemed. By my 30s, I was known as one of the most powerful voodoo priests in the French Quarter. People feared me, respected me, and paid me well. I wore fine clothes, drove expensive cars, and never had to ask for respect. It came automatically. But inside, I was hollow. Every night I went to bed with an ache in my chest that no ritual could fix. I told myself that God was real for some people, but he had no interest in me. I believed my power came from ancient spirits, and I liked it that way. Until one night in 2022, when everything I thought I knew about life, death, and eternity was ripped apart in 7 minutes that would change me forever. It was a humid Friday evening in July 2022. I had been hired for a private ritual by a wealthy businessman who wanted his rival removed. We met in the back room of an old building in the French Quarter. The space was dim, lit only by a single red candle and the smoke of burning sage curling in the air. The smell was thick, part incense, part something rotten I could not name. I sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, my tools spread before me, bones, powders, a bowl of dark liquid. The man sat across from me, his face half hidden in the shadows. I began the chant, my voice low, rhythmic, drawing on the spirits I had called 100 times before. Then it happened. A sharp, crushing pain stabbed my chest. At first I thought it was stress, but within seconds it felt like someone was driving a hot iron through my heart. My breath came in shallow gasps. The candlelight blurred. My arms went numb. I heard the man shouting, but his voice sounded far away, like it was coming from underwater. The floor beneath me began to tilt. My vision darkened, and in a blink, the room was gone. I was standing in absolute darkness. It was not the darkness of a power outage or a moonless night. This was thick, heavy, alive. I could feel it pressing against my skin. I took a step, and the ground crunched under my feet. When I looked down, I realized I was standing on bones, human bones. Then came the smell, sulfur and burning flesh, so strong I gagged. In the distance, a red glow pulsed like a heartbeat. I heard screams, not the kind you hear in horror movies, but raw, soul-tearing cries of people who had lost all hope. The sound crawled under my skin and made my stomach twist. I tried to move back, but the ground seemed to pull me forward. That was when I heard it. Chains dragging, slow and deliberate, somewhere behind me. My heart pounded. I turned, and in the glow, I saw them. Shapes moving closer. They were not human. Their bodies were twisted, their skin cracked and smoking, their eyes glowing with a hate so pure it made me feel like I was shrinking inside myself. One of them stepped forward, its voice a rasp like metal scraping stone. "You are ours." My knees gave way. The weight of every lie I told, every life I destroyed, every deal I made with darkness crashed over me like a wave. I tried to speak, but my mouth was dry. I could not pray. I could not call on God. I had spent my whole life rejecting Him. A clawed hand reached for me, but then I heard a voice behind me. It was not loud, yet it cut through the screams and the heat like a blade of pure light.
That voice, it was unlike anything I had ever heard. It carried no anger, yet it shook the very ground beneath me. It said only 4 words: "Your time is not yet." In that instant, a beam of light burst through the suffocating darkness. It was not like sunlight or firelight. It was alive, almost breathing. The moment it touched me, the stench of sulfur and burning flesh faded. The heat gave way to a calm, cool breeze. The screams around me seemed to drift into the distance, as though something was pushing them away. I felt a presence beside me, not just beside me, but all around me. It was as if this light wrapped itself around my body and reached into my very soul. I did not see a face, but I felt eyes on me. Eyes that knew every filthy secret, every cruel act, every moment of pride and rebellion. And yet, they did not turn away. Then the voice spoke again, deeper this time, echoing through me. "Go back and tell them, hell is real, but so is my mercy." Before I could answer, the ground beneath me vanished. I was yanked upward, faster than any wind could carry a man. My body trembled, not in fear this time, but in awe. The darkness was gone. The next thing I knew, I was lying flat on the wooden floor of that back room in the French Quarter. The businessman was crouched beside me, his face pale, his phone in his hand like he was about to call 911. "Man, I thought you died," he whispered. I sat up slowly, my shirt drenched in sweat, my heart still racing. My chest no longer hurt, but my whole body felt like it had been burned clean from the inside out. I knew I had just been given a chance I did not deserve. That night, I went home and destroyed every altar, every charm, every book, and every object tied to voodoo in my house. It took hours. I burned them all in my backyard, the flames lighting up the night sky. Neighbors watched in silence, probably thinking I had lost my mind. Over the weeks that followed, I walked away from my clients, my business, and the life I'd built on darkness. It was not easy. Some threatened me, some mocked me, others begged me to return. But the memory of those 7 minutes in hell was burned into my spirit. I found a small church in my neighborhood. The pastor did not know my past, but he welcomed me like a brother. When I told him my story, he prayed with me. And that day, I gave my life to Jesus Christ for real. I am not the same man anymore. I do not chase power, money, or respect. My joy now comes from knowing that I belong to the one who pulled me out of the pit. I live to warn others, especially those dabbling in the occult, that there is a price for every deal with darkness, and it is far greater than you think. Hell is not a metaphor. It is not a scare tactic. It is a place of unending torment where mercy does not exist. But there is a way out. His name is Jesus Christ. Hell does not negotiate, but heaven paid in full. That is the truth that saved me. If you can hear this, you still have time. Use it wisely. That is my plea to you. So I'm asking you now, what will you do with the time you have left? Will you keep walking toward the darkness, or will you let the light pull you out like it did for me? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your reaction to my story. And if this testimony has stirred something in your heart, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so we can spread the message to even more souls. You never know whose eternity could be changed by what you shared today.